So let's review law of sines just quickly. So A, B, C, little a, little b, little c. Let me lock that. All right. What's that? No, it's dead. So if you are given either two angles and a side or two sides and an angle, you can figure out all of the other angles and sides as long as you know angle, side, side, or angle, angle, side. Each one of those has only one solution. But if you happen to be given angle, side, side, that one causes problems. And we talked about this before, but let's say that's my angle, and here's my first side. If this is my second side, how many solutions are there? None, because that side is way too short to create a triangle. All right? What if the other given side is really long? How many solutions are there? One. That's it. Because I know this is my angle, this is my first side, and this is my second side. If there are two solutions, then you can pivot the second side and make a triangle. So if I pivot this, you'll notice it can't work because it's way too big. Okay? But if the second side happens to be just the right length, not too short, not too long, then there are actually two solutions. So that's one solution, and this is the other solution. So those are the two solutions. Okay? Now I want to point out a couple things. The pivot lies between the first and second side. So on angle, side, side, the pivot is between the two S's. The vertex between the S's. Okay? And it always swings toward the given angle. Always. And you'll notice when that happens, this is the found angle, and this is the found angle, because those two blue lines are the same length, so it's an isosceles triangle. And then you can use that found angle to find this angle, which will help you find that angle, and then you can do the law of sines again to find the third side. So if you have two solutions, so in this case I was given A, I was given little a, and then little c was given, and my answers were big C, big B, and little b. If there are two solutions, then you'll take this information and you'll duplicate it. So if there are two triangles, you have to give 6 answers. But one of those answers will already be given to you. Well, kind of. Okay. So let's just do a mock version without any calculations. So if I'm told that little a is 40 degrees, or sorry, angle A is 40, little a is 7, and little c is 3, and I calculate big C to be 10 degrees. How many solutions does that have? Well, one or none, one or two. You've probably forgotten which. How do you know if it has no solutions? If you set up sine of A over A and sine of B, well, in this case, C over C, and you get the sine of C equals a number that's bigger than 1, then angle C doesn't exist and there would be no solution. So if you end up with something, the sine of something is a number bigger than 1, there's no solution. Okay? But if the found angle is smaller than the original angle, then there's only one solution. And I'll show you why in a second. Okay? And once you have that, if I have a 40 and a 10, the other angle's easy to find, 130, and then little b is easy to find using the law of sines. Does that make sense to everybody? No comments? Okay, let's try something different. So let's say this is 25, 8, and I don't know, 5. I'm just making this up. Okay, if this has two solutions, where is the pivot? C is the pivot. So that would be my pivot, which means that angle B would move that way. So if I find angle B to be 40, now it has two solutions because it's bigger than 25. Okay? So one thing you can remember, if the new angle is big, that's bad, because then you have to do more work. Okay? The new angle is bigger than the original angle, that's bad because you have to do more work to find it. So what you would do is you would finish this triangle. You'd find C, big C, and little c. So you give your answer for B as 40, you give your answer for C, whatever that is, 65, 115, and then you give your answer for little c, which is like 6, I don't know. And then you do the pivot. So we pivot that way. Now 40 degrees matches 40 degrees, which means that in this smaller triangle, the top angle is going to be 140. Right? Because these two, or sorry, no, that's right, 140. Everybody get that? Well, 140 and 25 is 165, so this would be 15 degrees. So angle B becomes 140, angle C becomes 15, and then I need to find little c using the law of sines. Now, the test, instead of this, I mean, that's a lot easier for me. The test is 180 minus found plus given. And at first I didn't understand why they used the test like that, and then I figured it out, and I still think the test is dumb. But here's what they're saying. They're saying if this angle is smaller than that angle, then this angle will be more than 180. Okay, let me show you. So let's say this is 10, and this is 20. So that means two solutions, right? So I pivot, and this is 20, which means this is 160. So 10 and this is going to be 10 also. Okay? But what if it's not bigger? What if this is 20 and this is 10, and I try to pivot? What do you notice? If this angle is 10, what is that angle? 170. What's wrong with that? That's not a triangle, because I have a 70-degree angle and a 20-degree angle. So their test, which is 180 minus given, no, I keep doing that backwards, minus found plus given, if that value is bigger than 180, then you have a triangle whose sum is bigger than 180, which can't happen. But if that value is less than 180, it means that the little triangle exists. And what's really going on is, if B is smaller than that, then you actually have to pivot past. And it would be over here, but that's going to change the value of angle A. So I don't care how you remember it. If you do 180 minus found plus given, just know anything bigger than 180 is not a triangle. Anything less than 180 means that you're going to have two solutions. Okay? Well, what happens if this is 25 and this is 25, well, we'll do the other angle. What if we find out that this is 25? How many solutions are there? One. Why is that never going to happen? Well, what needs to happen in order for those two angles to be the same? A and B have to be the same. So if I told you that this was 25 and this was 18 and this was 18, would you bother to do the law of sines? I wouldn't. Because if I know that A and B are equal, what do I know? The angles are equal, so I would label that as 25, and then this one is 130. And then I would do the law of sines to find C. And that's why you have a greater than 180 or a less than 180. And with 180, we don't care, because if it's 180, then the two sides were equal and you wouldn't have used the law of sines anyways. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's do a problem. I'll tell you that angle A is 20 degrees. Little b is 10 feet. Little a is 18 feet. Which angle can I solve for? I can solve for angle B. So I'm going to figure out this one. If this is a pivot problem, where is my pivot? C. All right, so sine of 20 over 18 equals sine of B over 10. Cross multiply. 10 sine of 20 equals 18 sine of B. Divide by 18. So 10 sine of 20 divided by 18. Does this have solutions? Yes. How come? It's less than 1. So now I can inverse sine. So I just found angle B to be 10.95. How many solutions does this have? 1. What if I forget? Well, let's try to make 2. So we decided it pivots this way. If this is 11, then what would that angle be? 169. Is 169 possible? No, because 169 plus 20 is bigger than 180. So we don't have a triangle. So this one only has one solution. Did anybody not understand that? Okay, so now we need to find angle C. So 180 minus the answer minus 20. So C is 149.04. So now I need to calculate little c. How am I going to do that? So I'm going to go up to my original problem and replace the b's with c's. The sine of 149.04 over c. Cross multiply. So the sine of 20, c sine of 20 equals 18 sine of 149, and divide by the sine of 20. Sine of the answer divided by the sine of 20. So little c is 27.06. Everybody get that? Any questions? Okay. Let's try another one. What would I find? Or, how many solutions does this have? How come? This is side angle side. So this one only has one solution, and you can tell because I can find B or C. I can find angle B. Angle B I can find. I could find side C, or I could find angle A. So in the side angle side problem, you can find any of the three missing parts. So that one, that's easy. You don't need any of the special solution methods. What if I had this? How many solutions does that have? One, because, well, and we usually say angle, angle, side, but same thing. Okay, what if I were to move the 3 down here? Angle, side, angle, that one always works. And notice, once again, you could solve for any of the missing parts. Okay, but if I had 65, 8, and 2, what can I solve for? Just big C. That's the only thing I can solve for. And notice it's an angle side side problem. And so it's either none, 1, or 2. So let's try to solve this. The sine of 65 over 2 equals the sine of C over 8. Cross multiply. 8 sine of 65. What am I going to do to that? Divide that by 2. So 8 sine of 65 divided by 2. This one is no solution, because side A is way too short to finish out that triangle. Okay? So, let's do 35, 8, and 6. What can I solve for? I can solve for A. And this is an angle side side, so we have to be careful. It could have 3 different types of solutions. The sine of A over 8 equals sine of 35 over 6. Cross multiply. 8 sine of 35 over 6. Is everybody okay with me skipping that step? So 8 sine of 35 divided by 6. Does this have solutions? Yes. So I invert, figure out what the angle is, and I get angle A is 49.88. What does that mean? 2 solutions. So where is my pivot? C is the pivot. And I'm going to move angle A toward angle B. So I'm going to pivot in this direction. So I'm going to have 2 sets of answers. My answers are going to be A, C, and little c. So let's figure out the first set to begin with. This is 49.88. So to find big C, 180 minus the answer minus 35. Big C is 95.11. How do I find little c? So I'm going to take my original, and I'm going to replace the B with C. No, the A with C. So this will be the sine of 95.11 over C. Everybody okay with that? Cross multiply. 6 sine of 95.11 over the sine of 35. So 6 sine of this angle divided by the sine of 35. So now I have 10.42. So that's the answer to the first triangle. Now the second triangle, or I need to recalculate those three values. So we perform the pivot, moving it this way. When I pivot, angle A is going to be duplicated on the other side because this length and this length are the same. So it's an isosceles triangle. If the sides are equal, they're both 6, then the angles are equal. So if this is 49.88, what is the new angle A? So 180 minus 49.88. So this becomes 130.12. How do I find C? minus the answer, minus 35. And this angle will always be really small. Whenever you're doing this, the last angle you calculate is going to be small. And then how do I calculate little c? Just like I did before, but now c, instead of being 95, is 14.88. So in this problem here, I just replace the 95 with 14. So 6 sine of the answer divided by the sine of 35. And this number should also be small. So 2.68. Now if you take a look at your worksheet, 13 through 18, those are the hardest problems. So pull out your worksheet from Thursday. It's the second half of the law of sines worksheet. So on 11 through 18, you need to go all the way through and find the answers. 19 through 24, they're easier. All you need to do is figure out how many answers there are. So there's either one answer or two answers or no answers. Okay? And then 25 through 28 is really easy. Do you guys remember the area formula? So the formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. But the height is always one of the other sides and the other angle. So there are three formulas. 1/2 AB. And if I know A and I know B, which angle do I need? So if I know A and I know B, then I have to know angle C. Because if I know angle A, what does that make? Angle side side. So that doesn't work. What if I know angle B? That's also angle side side. So I need to know angle C. So if I know two sides and the angle between them, notice A, B, C. And no matter how you arrange that, A, B, C. A, B, C. So going over here, if A and B are the known sides, which angle do I need? C. Or, what's another version of the formula? CB sine of A is one version. What's the other version? AC sine of B. So those last four problems are really easy. You just do the two sides multiplied together, divided by 2, and then the sine of the angle between them. Okay? You should be able to get most of this done before class ends. Good luck.